Dear students, welcome to Army Public School PMA Resource Network. Before we start our today's subject English Literature, please subscribe this page and click on the bell icon. In our today's subject, we are going to narrate the story The Elves and the Shoemaker. In today's lesson, we will summarize the story The Elves and the Shoemaker. Elves mean a supernatural creatures typically represented as a small and delicate figure in human form with pointed ears and magical powers. And shoemaker is a person whose job is mending shoes. Move towards the characters of the story. Shoemaker, shoemaker's wife, rich man, rich woman, and elves. Now move towards the vocabulary words. Elves, wife, shoes, scissors, leather, midnight, needles, and thread. Once upon a time, there was a poor shoemaker. He was so poor that he did not have enough money to make a pair of shoes. At last, the day came when the shoemaker had no money left to buy leather for new shoes. All he was left with one last piece of leather in his entire shop. He said to his wife, "This might be the last chance to work on the shoe. I can make only one more pair of shoes." He carefully cut the leather and began to sew the shoe. It was night time, so he set the shoes down on the table and said, "Tomorrow I will complete the pair." He left the leather in the shop and he went to bed. The next day he got ready early in the morning and left for work. When he opened the workshop, he was very surprised because the leather that he had left behind was now a pair of beautiful shoes. The shoemaker called his wife and said, "Did you make these shoes?" His wife said, "No, I did not make these shoes." Later on, a rich woman came into the shop and said, "These are the most beautiful shoes in the world," and she gave 3 gold coins to the shoemaker and bought the shoes. The shoemaker used the coins to buy more leather. That night he cut up the leather for 2 pairs of shoes and he left it on the table. Then he went to bed. The next morning there were 2 pairs of beautiful shoes on the table. The same day a rich man came into the shop and said, "What a beautiful shoe! I will buy these shoes for 6 gold coins." The shoemaker bought more leather with the coins. That night he cut the leather and left it on the table. Then he went to bed. The next morning there were 3 pairs of beautiful shoes on the table. The shoemaker called his wife and said, "We must find the person who helped us." The shoemaker worked very hard that day. He cut the leather for 4 pairs of shoes. But That night the shoemaker and his wife did not go to bed. They waited and watched. At 12 o'clock the door opened, and two little elves in old clothes came into the shop. The elves scratched, sewed, and hammered all night. The shoemaker said to his wife, "The elves are helping us, but how can we help them?" The shoemaker and his wife made two pairs of little green shoes, sewed some little green cloths and two little green hats, and left these things in the shop. Then they hid and waited for the elves. At midnight the door opened and elves came in. When they saw little green cloths, shoes, and hats, they were surprised and put them on at once. The little elves came every night to help the shoemaker and his wife. They made many beautiful and colorful shoes, and the shoemaker and his wife made lots of little clothes for the elves. The shoemaker and his wife and the two little elves all lived happily ever after. That's all. Homework is learn vocabulary words. I hope you will enjoy the story. Stay safe and stay healthy at your home. Thank you.